Hey everybody, it's Maxine Taylor again, and today's Trumpology report is going to deal with Trump and the 14th Amendment. When I heard that Trump was talking about repealing it, and I found out that that's not possible for him to do legally, I thought, I've got to see what's going on here. And when I heard him say that we were the only country that grants citizenship to those babies born here, I had to do some research. Well, it didn't take long. There are 33 other countries in the world who grant citizenship, who offer civil rights and citizenship, mainly citizenship, to babies born on their soil. So we do not have a birth time for the ratification of the 14th Amendment, but we got a date, July 28th, 1868. That was 2 years after the first Civil Rights Act. I assume it was done in Washington, D.C., because it had to be done by Congress. And I cast the chart for 12 noon only because normally I do a solar chart cast for 6 a.m. But it seems to me that if you're ratifying something or putting it into action, it might take a little discussion. So 6 a.m. might not be a really logical time. And it could go all day. Discussion could go all day, but it was ratified on that day. And so what I did was I got the solar chart for the 14th Amendment, and instead of reading the chart of the amendment to you, because the amendment is not causing a problem, Trump is the one who's upset by it. So I thought I would compare it to his chart, because we do have an accurate birth time for him. My diurnal charts have illustrated this right from the day that he was elected and sworn in. So we know that his birth time is right on the money. So I thought it would be, I had to see what in the world, what was, what this particular issue was triggering in him, what he hoped that it would accomplish. So the only planets that I have put in Trump's chart are the ones that are directly hit by the planets of the 14th Amendment. I know it's a little stretch to do this particular chart, but you can do a chart on anything: the birth, the inception, the beginning of a project. So let me show you just what I've been looking at, and then I hope that this gives you insight and you come away with more information. So you'll see what all's going on. So let me just start with his 10th house, because that's where his Uranus, the rebel, the North Node, success, and the Sun, the ego, are. The 14th Amendment, the Mars in the 14th Amendment, and I'm looking for it right here. Here we go. I'll look for it, and I have the actual chart itself. I've got all these papers all over the place. You know how I work here. There we go. Mars in the 14th Amendment chart is 18 Gemini 53. His Uranus is 17 Gemini 54. You put Mars, gunfire, passion, anger, rage, on Uranus, the explosion, and you have lit the gunfire. I call Mars on Uranus the get on your Harley and ride aspect, because there is nothing holding you back. It's rage. It's like if you pour gasoline on a fire and it just flares up. That's what this is doing to Trump. Okay. That's the first aspect. Mars sits on his north node. Now, the north node is your area of greatest success and fulfillment. And that's him being a leader, being in the limelight. So it gives him more limelight and leadership and fire and fury, because it's Mars in Gemini, his own sign. And it sits on his sun, which fires up his ego. And there you have it. It also fires up anytime his sun is hit. It triggers the North Node and Uranus. Now, the sun is daddy. And so this Mars fires up daddy's message, which is be the leader. The catch-22 on the sun in the 10th house, which is be a leader, is that there's always a leader there when you get to the top. And it's a male leader. So we're talking about daddy being the one that he's competing with. All right. So there we go. And I'm just going to do conjunctions because they, you know my mantra, conjunctions tell the tale. All right. This makes sense, doesn't it? Just that alone as to what all's going on here and why he's all worked up and, you know, ready to write it off the books. And he can't do that. Legally, he cannot do that. And there are 33 other countries who also have this wonderful policy, which means that, you know, little babies, wherever they're born, have citizenship in that country. Okay. Now, let's keep on going. That 11th house that Trump has with Mercury, Saturn, and Venus. And if you've been following my Trumpology reports, I've gone over his chart many, many times. If you need a refresher, if you look back in my earlier videos, I go over it in detail. I'm going to touch on it a little bit here. Uranus, the planet of rebellion, sits on his Mercury. Mercury is your conscious mind. It's the way you speak. It's what you say. Uranus is the rebel, so anything's going to come out of his mouth. Now, I know some of you are saying, well, that's true anyway. Anything will come out of his mouth. Well, this amplifies it. And this may be why it has attracted him without his even realizing it. Because he wants to, remember, he has Mars behind the ascendant. He's a warrior. He wants to fight wherever he goes. Okay? Warriors don't like peace and harmony and calm. They like to make war. A lot of people don't like having a war. They like to solve a war. In Trump's chart, with Mars so close to the ascendant, the physical body and who he is, he thrives on controversy. So here we go. Uranus on his Mercury, and he's just saying stuff and expressing himself probably very psychically, because Uranus is psychic, of course. Now, Uranus on his Saturn. Saturn says, no, hold still. You know, let's be conservative. Let's be traditional. Let's not go overboard. Uranus says, to hell with that. Let's bust loose. The 11th house is friends, hopes, and wishes. And so this can be breaking up some of his friendships because he values friendship. He takes his friends very seriously with Saturn there. He has to be a leader in his friendship groups. And Uranus busts that up. Okay. Venus, the planet of love and money and all that good stuff, sits on his Saturn, creating a different kind of picture with his friends and his own hopes and wishes. It's a loving aspect. And Venus on Venus makes him indulgent with friends, indulgent with money, with gifts, with whatever. It's overdoing a good thing, but there is a love. If this were a person, there would be a love there. And what I've noticed in many of the charts of the people he has appointed to higher office is that they've got this Venus connection. The 11th house is very strong. He sees them as a friend, and then, of course, when they don't live up to his concept of friendship, they're out. Mercury, from the 14th Amendment chart, sits on his Saturn and helps him look very seriously at his friends. It sits on Venus, and that adds a loving note. So there's a whole deal here with groups of people. So he may feel that he's doing this for his friends. Now, let's look at this 12th house. The sun in the chart of the 14th Amendment is in 5 degrees of Leo. It's shining a light on his Pluto. Now, Pluto in the 12th house is the need for total control behind the scenes. Well, it's not so behind the scenes anymore. People have seen a pattern. And here it is, the sun on Pluto, reinforcing either his need for total control or, in the evolved soul, a total transformation. No longer the need for power, but the need to rebuild and take charge. When you come from control, and if we come from control, we're coming from fear. And so we're controlled by the control, meaning we're controlled by fear. We're terrified of being annihilated. But what this does is it opens negotiations behind the scenes for him with other controlling people. Okay? And then the north node of the 14th Amendment chart triggers his Mars. Now you say, well, the north node's a good thing. And that's true. It is a new arena. Wherever the north node is, it's a new arena. And that 12th house activity for him with this particular amendment, 14th Amendment, is a new arena. But when it sits on Mars, it fires him up. It triggers his anger. Mars is Mars is Mars. It also sits on his ascendant, so he's feeling good. He's feeling like he's accomplishing something new, which he very well may be. Now let's look down here at Saturn. Saturn is our teacher. It deals with restriction. It deals with crystallization. They're not working as a team again. Crystallization. It's reality. And it sits there right at the base of his chart on the IC, saying, you need to be the boss at home. It can trigger the fear of not being in command at home. But this amendment is designed to give him the feeling of control. So this can set up a new structure in his domestic picture, in his home and family situation. And the moon is in his 4th house. Now, the thing is, we don't have a birth time for this particular amendment. So it's either in very late very late Scorpio, right next to Saturn, or 1 to about 14, let's say, of Sagittarius. We don't know what sign it's in, but wherever the moon falls, even from one person's chart into your chart, or one amendment's chart into your chart, it triggers an emotional need for security. And this is what he's looking for. His own emotional security. Now, the south node is right behind the 7th cusp of other people, of partnerships, and about 3 degrees behind it. So it's in the 6th house. And this means that implementing this might not be easy. This is the job, the job itself. 8th house deals with other people's money. So with Jupiter there, this can bring money, more money. And Neptune there, that's the dream, the wishful thinking. Interestingly enough, in his birth chart, he has both Neptune and Jupiter in his 2nd house. So looking at the 8th house as secrets, there are, Jupiter and Neptune are both in Aries. So Jupiter has a lot of secrets. about this whole situation with the 14th Amendment. And a lot of wishful thinking, a lot that is hidden. Neptune. It's like, I always say, trying to grab a handful of smoke. But it's like when you're on a stage, you're in a play, and they have a smoke machine that just blows out smoke. It hides reality. And so Jupiter is 14 Aries, Neptune is 17 Aries. There is a lot of obfuscation going on, a lot of hidden stuff. And now finally, Pluto, a planet Pluto itself, is sitting up here in his 9th house of foreigners, foreign trade, foreign travel, the higher mind, and his higher mind is totally controlled by this situation. Pluto can bring about major transformations, but the person has to be ready for that. Trump's midheaven is 24 Taurus. Let's see. In a few years, and I'm getting ahead of myself and a little off subject, the planet Uranus is sitting up here right now in 1 degree of Taurus. By about 2023, Uranus is going to be on his midheaven, and that's a big shakeup in his public image. So I just wanted to throw that out to you because I happened to notice it myself while I was looking at this chart and trying to figure out what in the world he was doing now, you know. So there is, the reason for this is just to get riled up and angry. The foundation of it is Saturn, fear. And the truth is that this comes from people in the White House, people in Congress, attorneys. This cannot be done by the president, the repeal of the 14th Amendment. So I hope you have enjoyed this little video. It's fascinating. This whole thing is fascinating. And my suggestion is that you look at everything that's happening now as fascinating, just as an observer, and realize that there is a gift in everything. And hindsight being 2020, when we have moved through this time period, hopefully we will see our gift, our personal gifts, and the gift or gifts for our country and our world. And with that in mind, I wish you joy and happiness and peace. And my blessing is that the stars shine brightly on you and yours. Bye for now.